We've been hanging out for 9 years, but not officially dating.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good way to put it, too. We've just been hanging out for 9 years.
Yeah, hanging out.
And then there was some, like, paperwork, and there's, like, a ceremony.
Some I-dos. But we've just been hanging out.
We've just been hanging out for 9 years.
Two people hanging out. Plot twist, now we're married.
Welcome to the Love and Comedy Podcast. That doesn't sound as good as what I did before.
Well, so good.
Anyways, welcome to the Love and Comedy Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Aurora Singh. This podcast, we talk about... What are we talking about? Pursuing love while pursuing a career in stand-up comedy.
I like that it's either like super rehearsed, like exactly same pauses, or it's, wait, what do we do?
What do we do?
Now I get why you wrote it down.
Yeah,
because you're like, yeah, we're just
that's why I usually just read
talkers that do people comedy.
Yes, and the plot twist of us discussing love and comedy is that your two comedian hosts... Oh, that's a part. I say stand-up comedians, and then, yeah, okay. Like, I can do it. Let's start over.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Love and Comedy Podcast with your two stand-up comedian hosts. I am one of your hosts, Aurora Singh. This is a podcast where we talk pursuing love while pursuing a career in stand-up comedy. Plot twist!
What?
Oh my God!
They were dead the whole time.
No, your comedian hosts happen to be married to each other.
What?
Yeah, and comedians. That's wild, huh?
So wild.
So that's it. I'm Aurora Singh.
And I'm Drew Shafer. I'm the other host. We're married.
Yeah, if you could believe it.
If you can believe it, I got that. So, yeah, we're going to talk some...
Oh, my God.
So today... we want to do another episode of listener questions, and we got two really solid questions from some of our really passionate viewers / listeners. And so we're going to dive in and answer those questions, give you a little deep dive into our personalities, into our relationship, and into how much fun stand-up comedy can be or sometimes isn't.
Ooh,
should be fun.
Yeah, let's get started.
For our love discussion today, I have a question from Rory, our pal Rory over at Punchline. She asks, how have you guys been able to stay together for 9 years?
You want me to answer?
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Okay.
How do you, like, we've been together 9 years. We've obviously been through a lot. What do you think? What is...
I mean, like, the general answer of how we've been able to stay together for this long, I think just, like, constantly panicking about what comes next really distracts you from how much time has passed.
Yeah. Like, if you keep yourself busy with panic, then you don't have time to reflect and be like, oh, wait.
It's been 6 months since something, like, you know, you just kind of keep pushing, and then you deal with the things as they come along, and then 9 years later, you're like, oh my God, it's been 9 years.
It's been 9 years. When somebody asks you, how have you been able to stay together for 9 years? You're like, we haven't. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
We have.
It's been 9 years.
Yeah.
Well, okay, it'll be 9 years. It'll be 9 years in October.
Yeah, we've been hanging out for 9 years, but not officially dating.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good way to put it, too. We've just been hanging out for 9 years.
Yeah, hanging out.
And then there was some, like, paperwork, and there's, like, a ceremony.
There were some I-dos. But we've just been hanging out.
We've just been hanging out for 9 years. Two people hanging out.
Plot twist, now we're married.
Yeah, it's like, wait, I feel like that's like the perfect thing. We've just been hanging out for 9 years.
It's been literally just, oh, hey, you're my friend. I'm your friend. Cool.
Are we going to be, it was like the dinosaur. What is it? Do you want to make a bunk bed? Did we just become best friends?
Oh, yeah.
It was kind of that situation. And then we were just like best friends for life. And then, you know.
Made it official.
And then made it official. Yeah. And then at some point we brought in the legal system.
Yeah.
And now we're here. Is that your answer? Do we disagree? That's boring.
I mean, we
need two perspectives.
No, we're not a debate podcast. We're just an agree podcast. We're just always in agreement. No, I mean, I think it sort of is a lot of just sort of like, as long as things are going in the right direction and you're working together, it doesn't feel like 9 years. It doesn't feel like a challenge.
Yeah. Do you feel like you've had more fun over the 9 years than you had the, 22 years before we
23
met?
years before that. I think so.
Wait,
yeah.
how old were you when we met? We always argue about
Yeah.
this. How old was I?
You were 22 and I was 23.
That's just so impossible.
No, that we were that young at some point?
No, that we were that old. I thought we were younger.
No.
I guess math is math.
I was about to say, yeah, you would. Well, I was about to say,
because I'm 31.
you had some wild drinking days before we met. I'm like, wait, that doesn't mean she was over 21. Like, for me it would. But
Okay,
no.
wait. So I was 22. You were 23.
Yeah.
So the 23 years before we met versus the 9 years that we've been together, what's been more fun?
The 9 years.
Good answer.
I mean, we've grown.
Good answer. Good answer.
We've done some cool stuff. I had never flown on an airplane. I had never,
man.
I went to Tijuana, which doesn't count as leaving the country. Like, that was the only outside of the country I'd ever been.
Yeah,
so it's
you
like
went
now,
to South San Diego.
Yeah, South San Diego, exactly. So yeah, it's like the stuff we've done over those 9 years, it's just been so much fun that it's like flying by. Like, time flies when you're having fun.
Aww, and hanging out.
Hanging out and growing, becoming a
Yeah.
better person, following your dreams. Like, yeah, it doesn't feel like 9 years.
Yeah, when I talk to my single friends, which I don't really have that many single friends, but or when more of my friends were single and we were just dating, they'd be like, "Oh, how, kind of the same question." And it's like, I don't know, I don't really think about it in a matter of I'm obviously 9 years is a big deal, but I guess I'm not actively being "Oh, each year marks a certain thing." It's just we moved in together after 8 months, I think, of knowing each other. Of I think it was 8 months of, we started talking about moving in together at 6 or 7 months.
The possibility, yeah, because I had just finished teaching. I was moving to Reno.
Yeah.
I literally looked at the apartment right below you.
Yeah.
And I was like, why would
Because the
we
couple
pay?
below me just broke up.
They had just broken up and moved out, and they were like, hey, you can take it. I was like, why would I pay to live right below you if we're probably just going to hang out every night? Like, we're just going to be in one or the other. It's like, are we going to have when we go to a hotel with 2 queen beds, one dirty apartment, one clean apartment?
Yeah, it just would have been weird.
Something weird where
But
it's
I remember that conversation. It was 6 months-ish in. And then we went to a Mexican restaurant in Reno, and we were just so should we just do this?
just move in together?
Yeah.
And it's let's do it. And then we started looking.
Then we started looking, and then we found a place. How many times have we moved?
Too many to count.
We can count. Let's do it.
Let's do it real quick.
Okay, let's do it. Ready? So one was into Montebello.
Yeah. Let's not just throw out all of our addresses either.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Aurora just had her identity stolen this week, and she's already all right, and my first car at this one was
Okay,
this.
I'll say code.
But,
that one was just one. We never use that as a thing. Yeah. So that one was one. And then
2,
wait,
3.
River. Can we just say the area? So we can say River.
Yep.
Okay, and then Sacramento.
Yeah.
And then Sacramento.
And Sacramento.
And Sacramento. So together...
Yeah.
We've moved 5 times.
Yeah.
In 2 different states.
Yeah. And we started out strong, 3 times in 3 years?
Yes.
Yeah, right away. It was 1 year lease. That's all that we're lasting in this place.
And every time we've moved, I think except for the last time, we almost broke up.
Yeah, every single time. That's why I'm early challenges. It's early on, that was a challenge. Moving was such a test of making decisions and delegating responsibility and being tired.
I think
and
maybe
hot.
One thing,
we always moved in the summer too, idiots.
Yeah, in Reno in the desert.
Yeah,
it's you know what? How did we stay together for so long? I think that we really pushed our relationship to the limits very early on.
Yeah,
and got a lot of things kind of out of the way. Very you saw how crazy I was, emotional and all that very early on because we lived together.
Yeah.
And then but at the same time, another thing that I think has made us stay together for a long time is that we both we both are hard workers.
Yeah.
But also didn't ever really feel comfortable going and working hard in a field that we don't care about.
Yeah,
So
I can see that.
we both kind of like had our ebbs and flows, and I think that's why we moved so much. Why did we move so much?
It was like the lease would come up and the rent increase would be so much, and we'd be like, why would we keep living here? Like,
Okay, I do remember the first move. Well, why did we? Okay, so we moved the first time because we were like, let's get a 2-bedroom. I remember that.
Yeah.
Then the rent increase was going to be too much, so we looked for. Oh my god, we found the best place on the river.
Yeah, beautiful.
That was the best. And then you got a job in Sacramento.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we had to, and yeah.
Okay, and then we did that, and then we were about to get married.
And we were like, we can't live with your mom and be married. Like, I know that's a thing a lot of people our age are having to do now, but we're like, we're not.
We just needed to have our own space.
Yeah, we needed our own space. It was, yeah. We just needed it.
Yeah, and then your job gave us a good offer on another space, so then we did that.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah, we didn't fully enjoy it. It was just a good deal for our first little.
It was a nice area.
Nice area.
Yeah. But okay, cool. That makes sense. So yeah, I think we put our relationship to the test very early on, and through all those moves. Why did we always almost break up?
I think, it was like you're so tired during a move, and it's like decisions of like, well, which bedroom is where do we put this furniture? Which wall is this thing going on? It's like things like that, and just arguments because you're so tired.
I think also it's because I mostly did the unpacking and you just didn't really care.
I mean, yeah, I'm not like a organizer. I'm not a like, yeah.
You don't like to decorate.
I guess that's the word I was looking for. Yeah, decorate. I don't like to decorate at all.
I'm gonna fix it just a little bit. Okay, that's good. But yeah,
more in my face.
No, it's like I
don't like decorating. So it's like I wouldn't even care where you're like, where should this tapestry go? I'm like, doesn't make a difference in my brain at all.
Yeah, and
so it's frustrating.
But I think now it comes down to like communication, right? Like, and understanding what the other person needs.
Yeah.
Like, it's important to me, and I don't like to make all the decisions, so you have to kind of train yourself to care a little bit.
Yeah.
And then I also have to understand that it's not your forte. Like, if you don't care as much, so I also don't want to put too much pressure. I don't want to expect too much from you.
And you don't want to put all of it on me because you know that.
But you don't want to put it all on me because it's a lot of decision making.
Yeah, it's not fair.
Right, Drew?
Either way, yes.
Right?
Yes. Either way, it's like.
Look, we're going to break it. We're like close to breaking up again. You guys can see how this builds up. We're not even
moving. We just had to move like 2 lights in the studio, and we're like, oh.
We're all
where do we
up.
put the lights? Is it decoration or is it functional?
Yeah. So, yeah, moving is tough. And then early on.
We also, early on, we had not issues, but we were both trying to figure out what job to do. Like, I had just left teaching when we moved in together. Stable income. Then I was just sort of working for the comedy club, but that wasn't like a career to do. Mm-mm. So then it was like just each of us were trying to find the job that fit.
I was working in car sales. Well, I graduated college and then I wasn't really working, and then I was working in car sales.
Yeah.
Where I was making a lot of money.
But you were working 18-hour days.
It was rough.
You were, especially the end of the month was like, I need to hit quota or I get fired, basically. Ooh. So you would work 90-hour weeks plus. It was just it was unsustainable. Yeah, and my phone was always on too, because it was I would get messages from clients at 11 o'clock at night, which, by the way, if your salesperson gives you their number, don't contact them outside of hours. No. What is wrong with people? That doesn't make sense. It's so rude. Yeah. Only if there was an absolute drunk off emergency. A bottle of wine. Don't. Yeah. What? And we just, we were dealing with that. And I think we both sort of had moments of depression of just what am I doing with my life? We would quit a job or lose a job, and then just where are we going? But we, at all times, one of us had a career, so we were constant panic. Never have time to reflect. Yeah, when what's in front of you is scarier. Because it would always be okay, so there was a point where we both kind of had a job, but most of our relationship has been you earn income and I'm in panic. I'm earning income, you're in panic. Yeah. And we're just going back and forth, and we quit jobs and lose jobs, and
It's been a journey.
It's been...
And 9 years later, we're still just like in it panicking.
Yeah. I think sometimes when people ask like, oh, how have you guys made it so long? How are you still together? Like, I almost wonder if they're asking for either, have you guys not realized who each other are? Like, is it like a dig? I'm like, no. I think it's more like, yeah, what's the advice you would have? Because especially I know Rory sees us and she's like, how do they become like this fun couple that stays together? So like
a fun couple.
I think so. I think we're fun.
We're okay.
We're all right.
We're fine.
But yeah, like what do you think is like maybe the biggest thing or the best piece of advice for people starting relationships looking for what we have?
Oh, God.
Back to last week and we're the greatest couple ever according to our therapist.
I think that there's so many moving parts, and I think that we did encounter a lot of obstacles early on. Mm-hmm. We had obstacles financially, just the uncertainty in both of our careers because we both want to do stand-up, but so we couldn't fully commit ourselves to these jobs, but we knew we needed to make rent, and so there was this like depression of like, oh, I lost my income, I'm not contributing, and the other person sees you not working, and then it's like there's always been something that's like we've had to work through, right?
Yeah.
And I think a big part of why you and I have stayed together for so long is I think that there's just an understanding from me. I'll speak for myself because I can't speak for you, but for me, I think I've always just had an understanding that like life is going to have ebbs and flows, and sometimes it's going to be really good and sometimes it's not going to be the greatest.
Yeah.
And I'm with someone who like is my fan, my friend. They respect me, and at the end of the day they want me to be happy. That makes them happy. And so in those moments where I get upset because you don't want to decorate as much, or like you don't, do certain things, and I'm like, well, why isn't he doing that? It's like, well, I know at the end of the day if I ask you, then you'll do it.
Yeah.
So I think it's just remembering that I'm with someone who wants me to be happy, and that's like a huge part of being in a relationship, is having that trust that someone is like looking out for you, and they can't read your mind. So you do have to communicate sometimes, and you can't say, well, I wish my partner would just know to do that. Well, I mean, that would be great. And sometimes that does happen where you just do things, and sometimes your partner just does things, but you also have to give them the opportunity to want to do that. So like, tell them.
Yeah.
I would like if you brought me more things, or like whatever it is that you want in a relationship. And I feel like anytime I've ever expressed something, it's always been received in a good way.
Like, yeah.
As long as I communicate in a good way, because sometimes I just decide to scream and yell, and that does not communicate things in a good way.
Yeah.
And I will own up to that.
Like, even if your message is just, I want a glass of water, but you're like, I want a glass of water. It's like, okay, now we got to talk before you get some water. What's going on?
Drew has definitely taught me how to say please and thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is your piece of advice?
I mean, really just dating me because I'm perfect. So,
right. Oh, that's a big part of it.
Yeah, if you can't have that.
That is definitely things that men say that never get laid. Go ahead. Try again.
Wow. Try again? No, I think that, no. I think it is sort of similar to what you're saying. So for me, it was almost like the understanding that we're a team the whole time from the jump. And it's like, on a team, like if you're playing basketball, you don't get mad at your teammate if they miss a couple shots. You don't go, oh my God, you're the worst, I want to get traded. Like, unless you're like some of these NBA players nowadays.
Yeah.
We're like, you can't hit a shot, leave. But it's like you leave a team or you like ask for a trade when the other people like don't have the same goal as you. So it's like us always having similar goals and a shared relationship goal. I think that's always kept us on track and kept us on the same team. Yeah,
because I think having all those uncertainties, like, it's like at least we know we're working towards one certain thing.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, okay. And it's like that trust in each other. Like we're all trying to win this game, right? Okay, we're all on the same page. We all are trying to win. And then you see some teammate like actively doing things like getting suspended or doing like stupid things. And you're like, okay, I don't think your goal is for us to win, I think you're doing something for yourself. Like, it's the same thing in a relationship. If we're like, our goal is to get married and have a happy life and a happy relationship, and you're out doing things or I'm out doing things where it's harming that, then that trust goes away, and then it's like, okay, this can't last. And we haven't done that.
Both of our answers have to do with trust.
I think trust and teamwork. Like, it's not a solo project.
No. And I also don't love the idea of a relationship as 50-50.
It's not. It ebbs and flows, like you were saying. Like, in a basketball game, sometimes one person's shooting really well and the other person isn't. You don't go, okay, like, I'm leaving because I'm scoring all the points. Like, you say, hey, can you do this or can you do this? And ways to contribute that aren't the points.
Yeah, and I think it's easier to go through life with a partner than by yourself.
Yeah, I agree.
So I guess we're just taking the easy route.
That's what it is, yeah. We're just lazy. We don't want to have to, taxes, like, just have me do it. And it doesn't take twice as long just because there's two of us. It takes, like, 20% longer.
What a random thing to bring up.
I'm a numbers guy, yeah. I don't know. Just everything.
You went from sports to taxes.
This is a very diverse podcast. We have everything on it, so, yeah.
It's comedy time.
Yeah.
What do you like more, the love section or the comedy section? What's your fave? What's your vibes?
I think that I like the comedy section more.
Why?
Because I think I want people to listen to this and laugh. And I think maybe our advice on comedy is good and funnier. And our stuff on love, I think maybe sometimes gets a little real. I don't know what people are looking for. I don't know which part they like.
We want to take people on an emotional roller coaster, though. Yeah. We want them to feel and to feel love and to feel comedy.
Yeah, we want your emotions to throw up and scream and laugh, and when you're done, go, "Oh my God, I did it!"
What a roller coaster! Also, we forgot to say where we're at.
Oh,
okay. We're recording live.
In case you don't recognize this brick wall.
The brick wall. We are recording alive from the comedy spot.
The Sacramento Comedy Spot in Midtown Sacramento.
Yes.
Sacramento's nonprofit comedy organization.
Wow.
They do improv, sketch, comedy. They do everything.
Those are all shows, but they do
classes,
the shows,
workshops.
Yep.
Charity events, everything.
Yep. So support them. They are doing great things for our art community, like performing arts community. So please, please, please support them. We are so appreciative of them and their space and their equipment. So thank you so much.
And affordable beers if you want a night out.
Beers.
Some of the best, like, they pick cool local ones. I'm a huge fan of their beer selection here.
I love everything that they do. Yeah. And I love Brian and the whole staff. And they're all just, like, really good people. So please support them. Yeah. Okay, so we are back in the closet.
Yep.
If you're watching this, the background suddenly changed because we had technical difficulties at the Comedy Spot, not to the fault of Comedy Spot, but our audio system just decided to caca poo poo on our episode.
Just everything crashing. Yep.
So we are here. We're going to do our question.
Yes.
For comedy. So we got this comedy question from another comedian who's in the scene. Her name is Raydeen.
Yes, it is.
And you want to tell us, like...
Yeah, she's like the number one proponent of our podcast. She is such a great fan. She is out there telling the young comics they need to listen to us. So, I mean, thank you so much for your support, Raydeen. I know you'll hear this, which is so nice to be able to say.
I meant more like she said this in person.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she asked in person at a little event that we had for one of our comedian friends last week. And I was like, oh my God, that's such a good question. You need to message our podcast thing so we can read it and answer your question on the next episode.
Message our podcast thing?
Our Instagram profile. Drop a DM on the page.
So message us questions. Yes. So Raydeen sent us this question. It's multi-part, so we're going to break it down just like part by part here.
Yeah. Let's
the first part of it is, when has comedy not been fun?
Ooh.
Go first.
I think for me, comedy stops being fun in a couple situations. One is when you're doing like a lot of competitions where you have to bring your A game, like competitions or auditions, like, and you're just doing the same jokes word for word, and you have to do everything perfect, and there's pressure and stress. Like, that takes away the fun of it.
Yeah.
And the other time is just when like you hit like a block. And I feel like especially early on, there's like this obstacle in your way where you're like, okay, I know what funny comedy is, and I'm not doing it. And you're just like, you see this big wall in front of you of how do I bridge the gap between what I think is funny and what I'm doing right now? And it can be frustrating, but like that's part of the challenge. It's not fun in those moments, but you just have to push through.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything that you're saying, because one thing that people don't realize about stand-up is that you're going up there and you are repeating yourself over and over again. And after a while, just like you find a good movie that you really love and you watch it a few times, or a good song you really love and you sing it over and over again on replay. And then after a while, you're like, okay, well, I mean, I still love the song. I still love the movie, but like, I need something. I need to like switch it up, you know?
It's the repetition of it. Yeah. For
sure.
And
I think to also when it comes to having to repeat yourself, like having to do the same joke over and over again, specifically in competitions, is very difficult. Or if you're like going to multiple festivals in a row, because the pressure to perform at your best is very present in those moments. So you have to just do tried and true, which just gets really boring. So when you come back from things like that and you're at a club or you're doing another show, you're like, ugh, I don't want to have to say these jokes again. I'm tired of them.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's like the last couple years have been like a really good couple years for me to grow as a comedian. And that only came from repeating my tried and true over and over again. And now I'm like, I think I'm ready for the next level. So I am going through this period of like writer's block, and it's not fun for me at all.
Yeah.
That kind of segues into the next part of the question is, has there been any long seasons of not enjoying stand-up and not enjoying performing?
Yeah, and for you, since you were just starting to reference it, have you had some long seasons of it?
I mean,
Are you in one right now?
I think I've been in one for like a year.
Okay.
And I think it's just because I am now getting opportunities where I've been passed in a lot of the clubs that I wanted to get passed in. So I've done those jokes. I've hosted for some pretty big names, and I've gone 6 shows in a weekend, sometimes up to 8 shows in a week, where I've repeated these jokes over and over again. I've been doing that for a year. Now I'm about to go onto these cruises in colleges where I have to do an hour, 2 hours of material. And so I'm in this like year of writing and stress. Like a lot of the performing I'm doing right now is stressful. And I'm doing a lot of writing, and I'm also hitting a writer's block because I don't want to keep writing the way I've been writing. I want to like push to the next level.
Yeah.
And so it hasn't been as fun, and I need to learn to just enjoy the process. And the reason why I need to learn to enjoy the process is because I am very familiar with this feeling. I had this feeling when I was trying to make the jump from 5 minutes of material to 15 minutes of material.
Which is quite the jump early on.
Yes.
It's a huge step.
Yes.
Being able to have an effective 15-minute. Not just, I can do comedy for 15, but I have a good solid 15.
Right. Right now, I can do 45 to an hour. Do I have a good, like, if someone came up to me and said, do 15 minutes, I'd be like, I can do 15 minutes and kill in 15. But 3 or 4 years ago, if someone said do 15, I would feel the same way about that 15 as I do now about the 45 to an hour. I can do it. Like you just said, I can do it, but it's not my favorite stuff.
Yeah.
It's not going to, I don't know if it's going to kill everywhere.
Yeah, it's not as tight maybe. It's not as structured as...
And I wish I would have just enjoyed the process when I was making that jump from 5 to 15, because it was a fun process, like failing and finding things that worked. And so I'm trying to tell myself now that part. Like, okay, that's the next part of the question though. But before we get into that, have you gone through this in long seasons, and what happened? How did you feel
Yeah, definitely.
What was going on?
Yeah, so I mean, I think a lot of it was like for me was doing a lot of competitions, doing the same set over and over again, but not winning. For me, sort of was like this idea, oh my God, I'm not funny if I can't win. And this is what I've been doing everywhere all the time. And it's not good enough, but it's the best I have. Like that feeling of, oh, I'm doing my best, but it's not good enough would be so defeating that it made it not fun.
So for you, you're speaking specifically of the competitions that
competitions and like auditions. Yeah, really like some of those like big pressure where you're just doing big pressure shows like, oh, we're going to LA, we're going to be in front of this booker, or oh, we're doing our first showcase at the Punchline in San Francisco, and all these Bay Area comedians are going to talk about us whether we do like terrible or do great. Like this is our first impression.
How long? What's the longest that you felt like that was going on for?
I mean, maybe like 3 months is probably the longest I've ever had like a season of just not having fun with it. But I mean, usually it's like 3 or 4 weeks for me. And that happens, you know, maybe once or twice a year where I just have like an off month where it's just like, all right, it's been pretty boring or like just not fun.
Yeah. I don't remember if we had already said this in the one that we recorded before.
We'll look back. We might splice a couple things together.
Yeah, or if this was in the last section, I can't remember. But talking about how there's this haunting curse that comedians go through.
You didn't talk about it in this studio, so yeah, go ahead and talk about it.
Well, I remember we talked about it during this episode, but I don't remember if it was during this section. Do you? Anyways.
It was, yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was, yeah.
So we didn't record it.
Yeah.
Okay, so comedians go through this thing, like where we have, let's say we have 10, let's just pick a number, 10 shows in a row. Mm-hmm. And within 2 weeks, we're doing 10 shows. Every single show is just hitting.
Yep.
It is like you do 1, great, 2, good, 3. Now you're at 5 shows and you're like, I haven't had a bad set yet.
Just crushing it.
Just crushing nothing can go wrong. Sets.
Yep.
And whenever this happens, this is like a haunting curse that all comedians know. They're like, one's about to hit real bad.
Yeah.
One's about to be so bad, it's going to make you want to quit.
The bigger the rise, the bigger the fall.
Yeah. And it's kind of funny because when comedians are going through this, I've heard it a million times in green rooms. I'm sure you have too, where a comic comes in, they're like, I've had 9 good shows in a row. And everyone in the green room's like, oh, shit.
It's like... It's like a perfect game in baseball. Like, I've done 8 innings, perfect game. It's like, don't say perfect game. Don't mention it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because then every comic in there is... But then it also becomes like camaraderie. And so when the comic does eventually fail at their set, comics, we all laugh. Because we're like, it was going to happen. And it's no reflection on the comedian. It's just like a numbers game. It's like it was just bound to happen. It's just the weirdest thing. But like you said, like winning these competitions, it's like it doesn't always... There's so many outside factors that determine if you win a competition or get passed in, you know, showcases or whatever. So what do you tell yourself when you're in those like 3 to 4 weeks or 3 months, like you said? To kind of keep going.
Yeah, I don't know if there's like something I tell myself. I think I'm just so stubborn and I don't know how to quit. So like, I think for me, it's just in those moments, I'm like, okay, what's the fun show? What's the goof off show? Like, no offense to producers, but there's shows that we all do where we're like, okay, I don't have to bring my A game. This is like, a casual bar show. Nobody's expecting Netflix special quality material. So it's like, finding that spot on my calendar and being like, that's the show where I'm just going to go have fun and do something different and just see how it goes.
So that's what you tell yourself to focus on.
Yeah, like focus on that. Just keep working and grinding out the stressful, the repetitive sets, and eventually you get to have fun time. Like it's like doing work and then you get recess.
Okay, so you feel like those moments in time are like doing work.
Yeah, that's when it's work.
And then you get recess where you're just like, oh, I get to have some fun. And
and it's like they always say like do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. But like Daniel Tosh talked about that in his stand-up. He's like, no, I'm a stand-up comedian. I don't even want to come into work 80% of the time.
Yeah.
And it's like that understanding that comedy is a job. There is stress. It's not always fun. but sometimes it is. And a lot of times it's just so fun. So it's like knowing it's a little bit of work to get that reward, get that recess, totally worth it.
Yeah, that statement of do something you love and you'll never work a day in your life is...
I hate it.
I feel like it's a very harmful statement because if you do what you love and you want to make it sustainable, then you do have to like work at it in some form. You can't just like be like naturally good at something is a thing that happens. But to make a living from it, you have to be like really in love with it because you have to put in work to get better at it. You have to treat it like a business. Yeah, and so that makes sense. I definitely feel that way.
How about you? Like, is there something you tell yourself when it's just not fun?
I was kind of starting to say it before that I just try and remind myself to enjoy the process because every time I start getting ahead of myself and I start going, well, I want this and I want that and I want to be here and I want to do that and I'm not enjoying it because I'm in a writer's block and blah, blah, blah. I always look back at that time and I'm like, God, it was so nice to just like not have that much pressure. Yeah. Like to go from 5 minutes to 15 minutes to me felt like the weight of the world was on my shoulders. But truly no one was like, I still consider myself a no one, but I was beginning in stand up. You know, there was no expectation for me, no pressure. It was just a growing process. And I miss that like little bit of freedom to just kind of go on stage and no one expect anything from me. And even now, like, it's not like I have a huge fan base, but I do feel like sometimes people are like expecting me to behave and do certain things. And I don't necessarily have that much freedom as I did before. But I'm trying to even get that mindset out too and just be like, you know what? You have earned somewhat of respect. And if this doesn't go well, then it doesn't go well. And then you just do more shows and you just... Joey Diaz actually told me that. Yeah, Joey Diaz, years and years ago when I performed with him in Reno, he was like, he could tell I was nervous before a set and I was like in my head and he was like, well, Joey Diaz, he was like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And I was like, I'm just a little nervous. And he was like, what are you fucking nervous about? It's a fucking set. You're gonna fucking, this is a fucking job. We just go up there, we tell some fucking jokes. They laugh at some fucking jokes. And if they don't fucking laugh, then you just fucking go home and do another fucking show.
That was pretty good. I feel like the listeners are going to be like, wow, they're a good podcast. They just had Joey Diaz. Is that the special guest they were talking about?
Oh. I'll talk about that in a second. But that was my bad on that one. But yes, so that's what Joey Diaz told me. And so I always try and remember like big famous comedians. We just go up there and what we do is so objective. And so I mean, it's the greatest job in the world. Ellis Rodriguez always tells me that. Carlos Rodriguez always reminds us. If you listen to our podcast, we had Ellis on. We haven't had Carlos yet, but they're both great comedians. And they tell me all the time, this is the greatest job in the world. We get to go on stage and tell jokes. So if it doesn't go well, just enjoy the process. Like, we have to enjoy the process because that's all we have.
It is.
That's all we have is the jokes and the process. Let me see if there's anything else that Radine said. I feel like there was one more part that I'm missing.
Yeah, I feel like there are a couple more.
Oh. Have you ever thought about quitting comedy? What kept you going? And then the last question is, what is your goal or end bracket for comedy? Okay. So have you ever thought about quitting? What keeps you going? And what's the end goal?
Yeah. Have I ever?
The answer? Yeah. Yeah,
Have you thought about quitting?
Yes.
They love the synchronized moments.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yes. All the time. Not all the time, but like quite a few times. There was
less now than in the beginning.
Yeah.
For me.
I think so, too. Like early on, you haven't invested as much, so like you're like, oh, I could get out easier.
Right.
Versus like now we're married to comedy.
Well, I'm at a point now where I cannot turn back.
Yeah.
I've gotten too far up this mountain where I'm like, if I go back, it's just, I can't. Like, I haven't been in the workforce in years.
Yeah.
So.
I've thought about it, though. Like, I remember one in particular, it was like a month of just bad shows, not having fun. My set wasn't going great. It was the only thing I could do. And I started telling bookers no. When they'd be like, oh, can you do the show this day? I'd be like, nope, busy. And I was just telling people no. Like, I rejected 5 or 6 show offers because I was like, I have a show in 3 weeks. That's going to be the last show I ever do. I was adamant, like, had committed to it. And then that night, went to the show. I was like, it doesn't even matter anymore. So I got a couple beers in me. It was Paraiso Brewery in Los Banos, which no longer exists, but it was one of my favorite venues.
It doesn't?
Nope. They closed down. Yeah.
Damn.
But like literally some of my best sets ever were there. And including the night I was like, I quit. This is the last time I'm ever going to take a microphone. And then I got drunk and just talked. And me talking was so much funnier than all the stuff I was doing. It was fun. The crowd loved it. I was like, all right, I guess I'm back in it. Like, okay. And so, yeah, I've thought about it. And then it's usually you get one of those fun shows or you like get that attitude of like, it doesn't matter anymore. And then as soon as you stop thinking that it matters, that's when it comes in and reminds you, oh, yeah, this is the most important thing to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's the same thing, too, like the curse of all the good shows and the bad show. It works the other direction as well. If you're just stuck. You're just stuck in this plateau where you're stuck. Do you think maybe that's what keeps you going now? Like, obviously in that moment you were very much like, I'm done. And then you had a great set. But like, what about now? What keeps you going when you do have those thoughts?
Yeah, I think like I remind myself of the really fun sets because like, it's like from therapy, they point out how easy it is to think of the negatives, but that you have to like train your brain to think of the positives. So like if somebody was like, hey, tell me 10 bad things about yourself, you're like, oh, boom, 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 done. But if they're like, tell me 10 good things, you're like, oh, let me think. Like I need a second.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing with comedy. I just have to remind myself like, hey, remember this show, this show, this show. Remember how much fun you had doing this, this, and this. Remember how it felt when you wrote this joke the first time you told it and it got a huge laugh. Like it's reminding myself of those good times makes it easier to just write out the bad times.
I think that's a good answer.
And I think part of it, is also the confidence. I know I can write a good joke. I have enough good jokes. So I'm like, okay, if I just grind it out, some of these jokes, maybe I'm telling now and then I come back to it in 2 years and it'll be funny.
Yeah, like now you know how to trust your process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it makes it a lot easier. How about you?
I am similar, but first off, let me say, I think about quitting comedy often.
Yeah.
But like I said, I'm too far into it. Mm-hmm. I do think about quitting. What keeps me going is I also trust the process. I'm also just so familiar with these feelings that I'm like, it'll pass. Like the feelings that I have about anytime I ever feel like I want to quit comedy, it has to do with like an insecurity I have, and most of the time that stemmed from comparing myself to other people. Yeah. And so I feel like in the beginning of stand-up, what kept me going was pure stubbornness and competitiveness. Like that is it. Like there is nothing that kept me going besides being stubborn and competing with myself and everyone around me. That is it. Did I have a passion for it? Sure, yeah, but like that is what drove me. Like and maybe a little bit of revenge too against my bullies that I grew up with. For sure. But what keeps me going now is still all of those things.
You gotta prove them wrong.
I gotta prove everybody wrong. I need someone to tell me that I'm good at what I do and I'm stubborn and I'm competitive.
That works.
But when that always doesn't, because that doesn't always work. So when that does, fade a little bit, now I know that I'm usually comparing myself to other people, and I have to remind myself that this feeling will pass. Yes. And I don't need to compare myself and my journey in stand-up to anybody else because I can't control what they do, and I can't control who says yes or no to them. Sure. I can't even control who says yes or no to me. No. So I have to just sit back and focus on bettering myself, whether it be self-care, comedy, relationship. That what I do is in my control, and I try hard to remind myself that, and when I forget, I just go back to being stubborn. So what's your end goal in comedy, in stand-up? Yeah, in stand-up comedy stand-up. Jokes.
I'm terrible at setting goals because there's so many uncertainties and I don't even know all the options that are available right now. Like I'm going into this with like without a menu of like, what can I be? So for
without a menu.
Yeah, like I don't know what all is out there. Like, could a comedian...
know some things that are out there.
Things.
Say something.
I think the biggest thing for me is just continuing to make people laugh for the rest of my life.
Boo!
I know. I just want to make people happy.
It's so disgusting. I'm literally gonna barf.
I know. I want people to be happy, and if that means I'm a social media comedian that people love, or a touring comedian, or a TV show comedian, whatever it is, I just want to make people laugh and keep having fun doing jokes for people.
I just feel like that is just shooting like bubbles into the wind.
I think,
and you can't, and like every successful anything I've ever read or heard or watched just said you need to set a goal, make a plan, and take action.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm taking action with no plan and no goal.
Yeah.
So
I think for me, it's like I have general ideas of what I want to do and what I want to be, but it's like for now, I'm just working in those 3 or 4 areas and trying to see if one opens up a little bit more than the others. So it's like,
okay, so what are those areas? Like make something more specific. You can't just be like, I just want to make people happy.
I mean, yeah, that's the problem. I don't know if I'm going to be better on the road or better in LA. Like for me, I'm like, I want to go to LA at some point.
What is your goal? Would you rather be a road comic and constantly be traveling, 50 weeks out of the year? Or would you rather be an actor? Would you rather do stand-up specials where you can be on tour for 1 or 2 months and then put a special out and then you're good for a year? Like there are goals.
Yeah, I think I would rather
like be specific, my guy.
I think I'd rather just be like an LA comic and then I sometimes get to travel, but like I don't want to be the road comic where I'm like, oh, I'm in middle of nowhere Montana tonight and tomorrow night I'm doing a bar show in Idaho. And
what does LA comic mean? What does that mean?
Somebody who works at one of the major clubs is like doing Netflix things, doing Amazon Prime specials, like doing small like specials and then touring a little bit. Like I don't want to be the guy nobody knows.
A small special on Netflix?
Not like small, but you know what I mean? Like sometimes they're on like Tubi or they're on like Pluto TV, like they're on the not big platforms, like whatever it is, like they're still funny, they're still working with the best people, they're making people laugh. But yeah, the idea, like I want to be either huge on the road so I can do like the fun cities I want to visit, or I just want to stay local. Like I don't want to do the full road comic. Like there's people out there doing it right now that we know of. It's like I'm in the middle of nowhere, Oregon for 16 people at a casino. And it's like, I don't want to do that because I don't know. I just feel like it wouldn't be as fun for me. Like when I go to cities, I want to explore fun cities.
Okay.
So I want to be like big, or I just want to be local and do like cool shows with bigger names. I don't want to be the in-between comic.
Okay. It sounds like you're shooting to be the in-between comic.
I don't want to be.
But that's what you just said your goal was, and then you just said you didn't want to do that.
No, I want to either be LA based and doing like, sometimes you're in a commercial or sometimes you're writing with people. Like I know comedians where it's like, oh, I'm at the Comedy Store tonight. Tomorrow I'm going to do some writing for a late night talk show, and then I'll be back at the Comedy Store that next night. Like, and they're based in there. They're working with the LA people.
So you
they're
don't want,
gigs.
Yeah. Okay. So you just want to make people happy.
Yeah, that's the overall. But I mean, like, yeah, either like working in LA or New York, whichever, or like big enough that I'm touring in the bigger cities and like theaters and like I don't want to do the traditional road comic. I know that's obviously a step for a lot of people, but I'm like, man, I just have to find a way to make the leap away from that, you know? Like nowadays there's comedians that get famous on TikTok and then they don't have to go that route.
Okay, so follow-up question that Ray Dean didn't ask, but I have.
Okay.
What are you doing to make those dreams a reality, those goals a reality?
I'm working on social media presence and watching videos of other comedians to see what's working. So like right now, obviously things like you have to add captions, you have to have a catchy dynamic hook to your video. You have to do things that make people not click away. So for me, it's like building good content to start building followers. And then once I have that, I feel like, okay, this is when clubs are going to take me more seriously. So even if I'm not headlining across the country, I'll be doing bigger clubs or like, moderate sized clubs. I just don't want to be the guy who has to like hit up every bar within 60 miles of Boise, Idaho to see if I can do a one night gig. Like, I don't want to do that.
Okay.
So for me, it's like build that following, because like we heard at the Sacktown Comedy Get Down, it's like a lot of bookers are like, hey, what's your social media presence? Because how many people can you bring out to a show?
Yeah, they just want butts and seats.
They just want butts and seats.
Yeah.
So I want to be able to put butts and seats so I can be like, hey, can I come feature? I have a solid 30. I have 100,000 followers. I would love to do your show.
Right.
So I think those are my two areas of focus right now.
Okay, I'm glad that we narrowed it down a little bit.
Yeah, I think, and also just making people happy.
Boo. We hate it.
How about you? What are some goals?
I just like whatever.
There we go.
Just like I'll just like tell jokes here and there, and then like whatever, it is what it is,
Yeah.
End of podcast.
End of podcast. That was our episode. Thanks everybody. What do you have? Because obviously you're doing some like really cool stuff lately. You're doing colleges, cruises. Are you trying to make that your focus, like just making a lot of money? Because that's what
I have to
do.
be careful of what I say because I have agencies.
Yeah, watch out, everybody.
So I don't want to be like, I don't care about this, and then my agent's like, then why am I getting you these things?
Yeah.
No, I am. My ultimate goal in stand up is to be a household name. Mm-hmm. I want to be like the Elijah Schlesingers, Amy Schumers, Ali Wongs of the world, Michelle Buteau's, Taylor Tomlinson's. I want to be like everywhere. I want to be like, I don't know exactly how to get there because there's multiple routes, but I want people to go, I want to put out a special on Netflix or HBO, and then people go, oh my God, Aurora Singh just put out another special. I'm so excited. No, it comes out in a month. Yeah, let's watch it. Let's all watch and talk about it. Mm-hmm. I want to be in movies and then have people go, oh my God, Aurora Singh's in this new movie. I got to go see it. It's going to be so funny.
Yeah.
I want to have like brand deals. I basically want to have enough going on in entertainment that I'm like now making money without having to hustle so hard. So like people, instead of me having to like audition for commercials and stuff, people hit me up and they're like, let's have a brand deal with you. Here's a multi-million-dollar brand deal so you can, sit in a Honda Civic and drive it down the freeway and people would want to buy it. Like I want to be that kind of lifestyle. I don't want to be able to go to a grocery store. I don't want to be able to just like have a normal life. I want like security.
Jeez.
I want to be untouchable.
Jeez,
And I also just like really want to make people happy.
No, you don't. You want to make yourself. You want to make yourself famous.
I definitely.
You want to be a Kardashian. Nobody's ever like, the Kardashians make me so happy on the inside. They're like, no.
I do want to make people happy.
Okay.
I've gone through a lot in my life. So the ultimate goal, the reason why I want to be a household name really is because I feel like I grew up and I never saw anyone that looked like me or sounded like me or has my experience. Even now, I don't. Like, I still don't see anyone that fully represents who I am. But I know that I represent a big group of people that are multiracial and first generation Americans and grew up in communities that didn't reflect their own cultures, like their original cultures. And it's like, just... it's isolating, and I want to be a household name, and for the reason why is because I want other people who have similar stories to me not feel so isolated, and to see me and go, oh my God, like there is someone out there that's like me. There, people like her exist and me exist. Like this matters, we matter.
For sure.
So yeah, asshole. That's why I want to be a household name, because that means I freaking did it. That means all of my biracial babes out there are like, hey, here we are. We're out here and we're doing cool shit,
Yeah.
But yeah, Netflix, movies. I want to write my own TV show. Also HBO special, like whatever HBO, Netflix, like fight over me. It's fine. I'll do either one or both. But that's like the ultimate goal, just to be a superstar and represent all the beautiful people of color that grew up confused.
Well, you are well on your way. So you're on the right track.
Thanks. And my plan to get there, work really hard,
Yeah.
Have a good work ethic. No, treat people right. Know my worth.
Yeah.
And continue working on things that I can control. I can control my stand-up and the way I treat people. And I can continue to perform in these cruises and colleges and build my material.
Yeah.
Continue taking my acting classes that I've been taking to get better at being in front of a camera. And keep auditioning my little butt off, and something will eventually hit. That's what I'm doing.
There you go.
I'm going to do it.
You're going to do it.
I'm going to do it, guys.
Yeah.
Last episode, I mentioned that this episode we were going to have a special guest.
Episode 20 to end our season.
To end
big
our
special
season.
Guest.
Yeah, to end our season 1, we're going to have this big special guest. And
they're right. Oh, they're not right here.
They're not here because I, Aurora Singh, made a mistake.
Ooh, it's okay. We can admit to our mistakes here on the Love and Comedy podcast. I was about to say on the safe space.
Oh my gosh, no. This is a safe space.
Safe space.
It's
safe space.
So I made a mistake. I booked this person for next week.
Yeah.
As opposed to last Sunday.
Yeah.
So that's my bad. Honestly, thank goodness, because our sound system, our audio system was like not working.
Nope.
That's why we're back in the closet. But we will have our special guest in episode 21 of the Love and Comedy podcast.
Lucky 21, Blackjack.
And that will be the end of season 1.
Yes.
To show you guys a little look-see as to what season 2 is going to be. And we will be back in August with season 2 starting. But until then, thank you guys so much for listening. That's been our episode. Mm-hmm. Please follow us on Instagram and TikTok at The Love and Comedy Podcast. One more time, The Love and Comedy Podcast. I've been one of your hosts, Aurora Singh. Follow me at Aurora Singh Comedy. I almost said .com.
Yeah,
that is a website that you can also go to check out my shows. And also, we put out episodes every Thursday.
Yeah, and I'm your other host, Drew Shafer at Drew Shafer Comedy. And keep sending us your questions because they make for some fun episodes, I think. Especially if you ask us in person and then DM us after, because we are getting such great questions. It's making some good episodes.
Also, just a side note, if you guys could please support us on TikTok, because every time I post a clip, we get all these freaking trolls on there and they're really mean. So if you guys could go to TikTok and just start flooding our comment sections with really nice positive things, we'd really appreciate it. Also, if you guys are listening to us, like, follow, share, subscribe, do all the things, interact with us, tell people about us. We hope that we're helping new comics and all comedians. And we hope that you are getting something out of these. And I hope if you're not a stand-up comedian, that you're still getting some kind of insight out of this, whether it is for your, if you're a big-time lawyer, chasing your dreams, whoever you are.
Mental health, relationship health.
Yeah. We want everyone to relate. So no target audience. And that is super smart to do.
Yeah, that's like number 1 is do not know your audience.
Don't know your audience.
Don't know your audience at all. Just say words and some people might hear it.
There you go. Yeah. So that's it.
Bye.
Love you.
Podcast comedy you. Oh.